Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak about our council meeting tonight. We've had a lot of things happening. I want to commend city staff and our city manager, Greg Folsom, for bringing to council several new ordinances that I believe will help us to clean our city and just make it a better place to live for our community and for the people who come to visit. The first is we adopted our medical marijuana city ordinance, and we'll be moving forward on that. We're ready for spring. And of course, we encourage anyone who has medical needs to come to the city, learn about the program, or research it online on our city website to see what's necessary to get cultivation permit, etc. The next item on the agenda was an ordinance prohibiting camping. And to save a few minutes so you don't have to watch the entire meeting, it essentially comes, we've had some problems on private property with waste issues, with garbage issues, and it's just an unhealthy living environment. We also have property owners who feel overwhelmed and unheard, so we're trying to move forward with an ordinance that will help them restore their property rights and feel as though they have somewhere to turn. And with that, again, it's just a start, but we need to recognize, we need to take a look and see what we can do to help our homeless. We need to look into different avenues to give them a hand up. And if not, work with our state legislators. I was very encouraged to see some legislation coming forth from Senator McGuire regarding homelessness, and I've sent him some articles and left phone messages. I'm hoping to speak with him soon regarding some things that have been happening in the state of Utah regarding state-funded homeless living areas, apartments and buildings to help people get back on their feet. If they so choose to. The next on our ordinance was dealing with some animal control issues. We've got a large pet population here, pets that aren't being cared for, and unfortunately you can't regulate or through ordinance provide people with common sense. So we have to try to help there, and we need help. We need help with adopting animals. We need help in the care of our animals, and we're asking for pet owners to be more responsible, to spay and neuter their pets. We're asking through help with our animal groups, the Animal Coalition, obviously our animal control. We're trying to work hand in hand with them to try to help our pets here in Clearlake, our domestic animals. I encourage anyone who is having a problem with domestic animals that are in their neighborhood, uncared for or abandoned, to call our city hall and ask for some assistance, or through the police department, since our animal control officer is dispatched through the police department. Next, we ask that we create an ad hoc committee for the selection purposes for a vacancy that's just been created on our planning commission. I'd very much like to thank Bill Perkins for the many years he served on our planning commission, and I'm sorry to see him leave, but I understand his reasoning and support him very, very much, and again want to thank him for his service. But we are looking for applications for the position of planning commissioner, and I wanted to create, and I asked for the ad hoc for consistency, that once a person enters into or submits their application of interest for the Planning Commission, that we can have a set process by which their application will be vetted and they would be secured on the Planning Commission. With that, I was very pleased with the community input, very pleased with the dialogue we had with council members, and again, I'd like to thank Lake County News for doing such a good job on reporting what's happening in the city of Clearlake. Thank you. If I could ask everybody to take their seats, we'll get started. Thank you all. I would like to call the City of Clearlake Council meeting together, a regular meeting of the Clearlake City Council and Redevelopment Successor Agency within the Clearlake City Hall chambers, 14050 Olympic Drive, Clearlake, California, 95422 on this Thursday, February 11th, 2016. at, I'm showing 6:10 p.m. With that, I would like to ask for City Clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Sabatier.
Here.
Councilmember Overton.
Here.
Councilmember Lustelo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cortino Dixon.
Present.
Mayor Purdom.
Present, thank you. Councilmember Sabatier, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Do we have someone to the invocation? No? If I could just ask you all to remain standing for a moment of silence. In the city, in the United States, we've lost a few peace officers this week. And if you might hold them and their families up in prayer or however you prefer, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please be seated. All right. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the agenda. No changes first.
Any changes?
There's no changes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Any announcements from closed session, Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council unanimously voted to authorize the city manager to enter into a settlement agreement in case number CV 414715, Anthony Spittler et al. Versus City of Clearlake in the amount of $10,000 to resolve the issue of plaintiff's attorney's fees request. And that's my report.
Thank you, sir. Prior to public comment, as you can see on your agenda, I have the honor of making a proclamation presentation. And if I might have a couple of friends, Mr. Mayo and former Chief Roger Shudo, join me at the podium. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for being here. There are important things that I have the privilege of doing, as well as my fellow council members, and one of those are recognizing things at a national level, at a local level, and this would be one of them. So if you'd bear with me, I'd like to read this proclamation.
Absolutely.
City of Clearlake, proclamation for Black History Month. Whereas in February 2016 in the city of Clearlake, California, and with the Lake County branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, is officially celebrating Black History Month, which dates back to 1926, when Dr. Carter G. Woodson set aside a special period of time in February to recognize the heritage and achievements of Black Americans. And whereas while the history of Black Americans is also a story of countless nameless heroes brought to our shores who endured the lives of bondage and oppression, the deprivation of their civil rights, and the ravages of bigotry and racism, it is a history for which most of the chapters have yet to be written, as Black Americans contribute to the American promise. And whereas generations of African Americans have strengthened our nation by urging reforms, overcoming obstacles, and breaking down barriers. And whereas African Americans like Martin Luther King Jr. reflect the proud legacy of courage and dedication, that of helping to guide our nation's success and prosperity, as well as other visionary leaders from the past like John Lewis, Ralph Abernathy, Ralph Bunche, Abraham Joseph Herschel, Fred Shuttlesworth, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and Julian Bond. Process of clarity of purpose, and were instrumental in exposing and addressing the issues that threatened our founding principles. And whereas the Lake County branch of the NAACP is dedicated to the principles of fostering civic, economic, and educational programs and social justice throughout the city of Clear Lake, and is dedicated to encouraging reflections on a rich history of teaching of African Americans and bearing witness to the progress, beauty, and achievements they have made throughout our community. Whereas it is fitting that we set aside this month as a special time to acknowledge the important segment of this community. And now therefore be it proclaimed, the city of Clear Lake encourages all citizens to join in celebrating the diversity and character of our community and highlighting the importance of sharing our culture, our customs, our traditions with those around us. Dated this date, February 11th, February 2016. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Pleasure. Anybody want to take a picture?
You already got it.
Okay.
Did you take a picture?
I did.
You gonna send it to me?
Sure.
Thank you, because that's how we work around here. Thank you very much. All right, back to good work. It's time for public comment. Please note, public comment is a time that we set aside to hear from our community. We don't want to be an island here for matters not on our agenda. Because they're not on our agenda, we can't discuss, respond, or otherwise make comments to your request to speak. But we will listen, and if there's something that can be dealt with later, we're happy to do that. So first, I have a request from Ilana Johnson. Ilana, are you here? Am I pronouncing that correct?
I think she just called in that comment.
She called it in, okay. Well, it'll be difficult to have her speak. Then may Nicole Cook come forward. She'd like to speak to us and tell us about an event coming up.
Hello. This Sunday, Valentine's Day, we'd like to invite the public and everyone to Borax Lake to show some love and help clean it up with citizens caring for Clear Lake.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you for that request.
Thank you.
Very well. Would anyone else who hasn't provided a public comment card like to come to the podium and speak? We're allowing 3 minutes tonight. I see someone coming to the podium.
Of course.
Where's Borax Lake? I don't know where it's at.
I might recommend maybe a gentleman here in the audience I think can help you.
Country Club. Go that way.
Oh,
They'll drive right around you.
okay. Now,
2 miles an hour.
back about 4 months ago, when the city had to take over animal control because you basically drove the SPCA into the poorhouse. Your city manager told us that that tin building over there where the dogs are kept would get air conditioning and heat. And 2, there would be a different system set up for when they put water in the kennels to wash them out. The only difference I saw when I was over there the other day was instead of the water with the feces and urine in it being pushed out the front door, it's now being pushed out the back door. I don't think that's a real solution to that problem. And I know when it was cold, you had animals over there, and there was no heat for them. Summer is going to be coming, and we all know that it gets hotter than heck up here. And that building turns into an oven. And little area fans don't cut it, because I have been over there before when you had just those little area fans that you would use in your house. Running over there, they didn't do anything. It was still like an oven in that tin building. So when is more favorable conditions going to be put in over there for the animals that you have to take care of? I did see the young man that cleans out the kennels. I asked him, he didn't know. And the way it's going to be this summer, like it is most summers up here, you people are going to be committing a number of law violations, because you cannot be cruel and unsympathetic
Thank you.
to animals.
I'd recommend you contact Lee Lambert, since he's overseeing that.
Well, Russ, since I haven't spoken to him...
Time's up, but I just was hoping to give you some direction on who to talk to.
Well, I haven't spoken to him in 3 years, so I don't think I'm about ready to start now.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Anyone else liking to address council before we start the agenda? Come on up to the podium, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Bill Evans, and I was just questioning what if it is on the agenda? Do we have a chance to ask questions then?
During that item, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for consent agenda. Any changes or modifications?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Folsom, any changes to the consent agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, there's not.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items.
I need to put out to the public, I'm sorry. I missed it.
I know.
Any member of the public like to discuss a item on consent agenda? Or bring it back for motion? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. Mr. Swati.
And I'll continue. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 5.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Sabatier.
Aye.
Councilmember Lustalo. Aye. Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon. Aye. Mayor Purdom.
Aye. Next order of business. Item number 6 on our agenda. Consideration of a new sign at Valentine Field, which names the softball field at Redbud Park in honor of Mr. and Mrs. Dale Valentine. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to give you some background, in June of 2015, last year, Council approved a request from the South Shore Little League to rename the softball field at Redbud Park Valentine Field in honor of Mr. and Mrs. Dale Valentine. Council also approved the installation of a new metal sign above the scoreboard pending final approval of design by the City Council. In the staff report, it's a little bit reversed on the colors. It should actually be that the sign is white with red letters, and the design is ready for approval. You had a mock-up in your package, and the South Shore Little League will cover the cost of this new sign.
Thank you, sir. And
So the recommended action tonight, sorry to interrupt you, is that by motion, approve the new sign in Valentine Field, softball field area.
thank you, sir. Any comments before I offer it to the public? Seeing that anyone from the public would like to address this item on our agenda tonight?
I could ask my question from back here. How much is this sign costing?
It's being donated to the city, so nothing.
Who's donating it?
It was in the report, South Shore Little League. Anyone else? Very well, I'll bring it back to council. Any comments?
I love the sign. I like the baseballs as the dot to dot the i's. That's cute.
They're going to be yellow like softballs because it's on the softball.
It's even better. Our mock-up is black and white, but that sounds awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else on council? No? Well, just to close it out, I would like to thank the Valentine family. They've watched these young people playing ball. They see it as a good, positive thing for our community, good for our youth, and they've taken it upon themselves to help South Shore Little League financially and encouraging the kids, and I just can't thank them enough for all their community support. So, action.
I move to approve the new signage.
We did.
And I'll second.
A motion and a second. May I have a vote? Call for a vote.
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Sabatin.
Aye.
Councilmember Lustula. Aye. Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon.
Aye.
And Mayor Purdue.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of the second reading and adoption of an ordinance number 181-2016, an ordinance of the City Council, City of Clearlake, adding Chapter 18-8 to the Clearlake Municipal Code, identified as marijuana cultivation, and repealing Section 10-7, commercial medical marijuana cultivation and cultivation on vacant properties, and limiting cultivation amounts. Mr. Folsom, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the second reading of this ordinance. The first reading of the ordinance was on January 14th. The council asked for several modifications, reducing a permanent ban to a 5-year ban and removing criminal remedies and some other minor wording corrections. At the second reading of the ordinance, which was on January 28th, the council asked for several modifications, including correcting an inaccurate modification and requiring outstanding fines to be paid prior to lifting the 5-year ban. So that's what we've done in this iteration that you're looking at now. So we recommend that you hold the second reading of the ordinance, read it by title only, waive further reading, and adopt ordinance number 181-2016.
Thank you, sir. Comments from council? I'd like to open it up to the public for public comment on this item.
I have read this, not all of it, because some of it was just a repeat of, because I think there's something like 35 pages to it. But there's holes in the ordinance now that you can drive a tractor trailer through. And as you were warned back in January that there could be some lawsuits, you're looking at lawsuits as soon as you start trying to take and either implement this or taking and trying to ban people from growing. Shorter than you thought, huh?
That was nice. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this matter?
Michael Green, I testified a couple meetings ago, and I just wanted to give you a happy note. Nobody ever praises people when they actually slug through the hard issues. And I think the art of compromise is when people are a little bit unhappy on both sides. And I think having gone through the ad hoc committee process and slugged through it, I just wanted to give praise for doing that. I think there are going to be some issues with some of the enforcement side, but I think the spirit of the law is what matters here, and I think if you go out there and try to enforce it in a fair manner, I think you're going to get good results with it, and we'll see what happens with the rest of it. But I just did want to applaud you for going through the process. It's actually a rare and beautiful thing, given a lot of the other things that are going around the state, so I do give you props for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Mr. Hughes, I saw you had your hand up.
I was agreeing.
Okay. All right, bring it back to council. Councilmember Sabatier.
So obviously I was on the ad hoc committee, and I do also appreciate the process that we went through. It was a very engaging conversation that we all had together. And there was one part of the conversation that never made it on here, and while I really like what we have here, I thought I'd bring it out just to see if there's anything in the future we want to look at, because we've already discussed the larger acre properties that we'll discuss in the future, not to change it here today, but something else to look into. It seems almost strange to say it's okay to have it next door to this house, but it's not okay to have it on specific streets. Where do we want it or do we not want it? And we had discussed at one point, instead of banning it completely for those specific streets, to allow it inside a detached structure for those specific areas where right now we're currently trying to ban on the beautification zones. Because I do understand the reason for doing so, but at the same time it seems strange to take it away from some but not others, and we don't like it, we like it. It's just a very confusing thing to say that we don't want it here, but we can have it there when it's still residential, it's still the same zoning. Just I don't know. It's a part of the conversation that we had in our ad hoc committee to still allow those within 100 feet of the lake or within our main corridors to have something within a detached garage, but not outdoor. Therefore, it's out of sight, still allowed, and just a part of the conversation to have in the near future. I don't think it's going to change anything today, and like I said, I like what we're doing, but just something to look into of whether or not that's going to really work for us, especially if there's things that come up out of this. Because we have changes in the state that are already coming, and so wondering if you guys want to have that discussion or not. And I have puzzled looks, so if that makes sense.
Councilmember Overton.
Okay, and I don't think the thing is as a city, the state has given us the right to zone or place where we feel is appropriate. Beautification zoning is beautification, so that is an area that we can legally say that we don't want that because it is not beautifying our area there. There's lots of stipulations even on businesses that will be in those areas, such as color, stuff like that. So I think it would fall kind of in that same category. I mean, we're going to be telling people you can only use these so many colors eventually. That's what they do in the design district. So the thought is we're not really doing anything different than what we're going to continue to do in the design district when we get ready to start doing those kind of things too. So I think it's going to fall into the same type of category. As the discussion will happen is, are we going to want anything like that there? So I think it will happen when that part of the design district comes to us.
Thank you. Any further comment? No. Just to respond in closing, and we can just see what the next action is. I think that was one of the beauties that we had with the ad hoc, is we were able to gather all the information from all the different disciplines on this issue, and we reached consensus. And from that consensus, we were able to put together this proposal. And it is a living document. It's not something that it isn't something that can't be amended if it isn't working for us. So with that, I am encouraging that we move forward.
I agree. I think we had 3 levels of review on this document.
Can you turn your mic on, please?
Thank you. I think we had 3 levels of review for this document. It went through an ad hoc committee that included community members, also our planning commission, and then the council did our due diligence and then some to create what I think is going to be a very workable document for our community. And I'm ready to offer the motion.
Please.
All right, I move to approve ordinance number 181-2016 and read it by title only. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clearlake adding chapters 18-8, 18-10, and 18-11 to the Clearlake Municipal Code, marijuana cultivation, abatement of public nuisances created by marijuana cultivation, and administrative remedies, and repealing chapters 10-7, 10-8, and 10-9, commercial medical marijuana cultivation and cultivation on vacant properties, and limiting cultivation amounts, abatements of public nuisances created by marijuana cultivation, and administrative remedies.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Might I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Sabatier.
Aye.
Councilmember Lucilo. Aye. Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon.
Aye.
And Mayor Purdon.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving along. Next on our agenda, the introduction and first reading of ordinance 182-2016, an ordinance of the City of Clearlake prohibiting camping on private property. Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is an attempt to try and address the homeless encampments that are located throughout the city. It will be legal still to camp on private property in the following circumstances: in the yard of a residence with the property owner's consent, on private property that's properly zoned and permitted as a campground and has adequate restroom facilities and garbage collection, or with a temporary permit in connection with a special event. Recently, this was actually August of last year, the Department of Justice filed a statement of interest on a legal case stating that prohibiting sleeping or camping in public areas when there is insufficient shelter space is a violation of the Eighth Amendment, the cruel and unusual punishment. Recent demonstrations have been held in Sacramento and Santa Cruz protesting their ordinances prohibiting sleeping and camping on public property. This ordinance addresses private property only and is in support of our goals of cleaning up the city. Our recommended action is by motion, introduce the ordinance by title only, waive reading, and schedule for second reading and adoption at the February 25th regularly scheduled council meeting.
Thank you. Any comments from council members? Very well. Anyone from the public wanting to comment on this proposed ordinance? Wouldn't be right if you did. Come on up.
Just one question. Who's going to enforce this?
It's a municipal code and also the law enforcement, our Clearlake Police Department. Very well. Bring it back to council. I see you over there working. Are you ready?
Chat is going on.
Councilmember Sabatier, go ahead.
I feel like I'm repeating myself from a couple of previous meetings where I feel this is ahead of something else that we should be looking into. The last thing that I want is to move our homeless from private residences right into our public parks, where we want to invite tourists to, where we want to invite locals to enjoy with their families, and at this point being stuck with not being able to do anything because we have absolutely nothing to provide for the homeless here. This is case law. This is something that if somebody decided to take us to court with, would possibly be the precedent that they would use, and that to me worries me. That what actions are we taking to work with the county, work with our counterpart in Lakeport to find ways to provide some sort of something to offer rather than nothing, where we can again be stuck with more light that is more visible to those that we really want to invite into our community. I would like to hold property owners more responsible for the issues happening on their private properties than us having to move them onto our public properties. We wouldn't be moving them, but they have the chance of moving there. And once word gets out, then unfortunately they will know. I like this, but without the proper facilities to help provide something that can give us the tools to say, no, you're also not allowed in the park, it is a scary foreshadowing of what could happen if we choose to move forward with this prior to engaging in the conversation with the entire county. We can't build on our own facilities to take care of this problem, but we need to have the conversation with our counterparts in this county. to figure out what it is that we can do prior to getting stuck with our public parks looking overcrowded with tents that we can't do anything about. And that would be the worst case scenario, obviously. Doesn't mean that that's what it has to be, but this makes me a little nervous prior to engaging in that conversation.
Thank you. If I might, Mr. Folsom, this actually would give us some teeth, as I understand the ordinance, to discuss with property owners that we're allowing or turning a blind eye. Is that correct?
Well, that's part of the intention, is for this to be a two-phase kind of thing, where not only do we have the enforcement level here, but we would be going to the property owners of those particular properties that are a significant problem, where we can say, look, we need you to post for no trespassing. We need you to post no camping. So, and give us some kind of a letter that says you're not giving authorization for anyone to be trespassing or camping on your property, then that gives us more authority to go after those folks who are breaking the law. Conversely, if property owners decide that no, we really, we don't want to do anything, then we have some authority to go after them to take action or face other penalties.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Fortune.
I think you clarified what I was going to, is that this really is a tool for the property owner who has unwanted camping on their private property, to allow the officers and from code enforcement and PD to assist them in clearing that up. If someone were to say, no, I really want to let them camp there, that's another story.
However, because they don't have regular garbage pickup and they don't have sanitary facilities, they can't give them permission according to this ordinance.
Thanks, sir. Councilmember Roby.
Just maybe a kind of stupid question, but so if I have somebody come up and we want to put a tent in our backyard for a weekend or maybe even a week or two, that's going to be okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of let people know that this isn't going to stop you from having your family come up, because sometimes you don't always have room, but you have yard. So
If you share that with you, right? That's what I asked Mr. Folsom the other day.
Sometimes kids like to put a tent up.
right, yeah, that's what I say. My grandkids like to put tents out.
And we recognize that. Anyone else? Cool, my turn. I ask for consensus that we bring this forward, and I have a deep appreciation for folks that are trying to work to clean our city up, but on the flip side, also trying to recognize something that people are turning a blind eye to, and that is our homelessness, not just in the city of Clearlake, not just in Lucerne or Lakeport, but in our state and nationwide. And very disturbed by the fact that we aren't looking at the impacts, not just in individuals that I believe we need to help, but also for those areas that they're inhabiting. In December of last year, we had a deluge, and that caused a great amount of water to hit a lot of our drainages. One of those drainages was Burns Valley Creek, and things that had been left by some of the homeless folks, displaced folks, actually clogged up our drainages. That caused the water to overflow the banks of Burns Valley Creek and enter into some businesses and residents along the creek itself. It wasn't intentional. I'm not trying to insinuate that it was, but mattresses, tents, tarps, those types of things, when they hit a drain inlet, will block that drain inlet up, essentially damming it up, and that had a very negative impact. The other thing that we're looking at is there are no trash receptacles for some of our homeless encampments in our city. The trash is building up. And I don't mean to speak ugly, but this is the truth of the matter. There are no places, no bathrooms, facilities. We've had a group of volunteers who are going out and working with the homeless and actually hiring some homeless folks to help in the cleanup effort, but that still doesn't take care of the 5-gallon buckets that are being used for human waste. We need to address these issues. These are impacts that will affect our city. We want to clean our city. That being said, and for anybody fact-finding out there, I do not believe that what is ever on Facebook is true, but I had something shared with me, and it spurred an interest. And that was some articles of programs currently going on in the state of Utah dealing with homelessness. And if you haven't had a chance to look into this, I'd recommend you either Google or look at some of the articles from the Washington Post. I found that was about the best one, that discusses some of the things that are happening in the state of Utah. Through their legislature, they created some homeless housing units, not necessarily to begin drug rehab or other types of mental health counseling, just to give someone a warm place to sleep, to rehumanize them from living on the street to then having a place that they could call their own, a place with an address, and maybe they could get some public assistance. It isn't mandatory. What they looked at, and from some of the articles I read, and I encourage you all to do the same, they have mothers living in a car with their 2 children for over a year. I can't even imagine what that would have been like, and the suffering that they endured in Utah. It gets cold there. We think it gets cold here. Nothing compared to back there. And they put these people in an apartment building and changed their lives. She was able to go back to school. She was able to get a job and turn their lives around. It was a very empowering story. That doesn't mean that everyone is required to go to these homeless shelters. There are still homeless problems in the state of Utah, but it seems to be working. That, on the heels of what I just saw Senator McGuire present, and I'm hopeful it will get legs, as he's presenting a bill to try to come up with some remedies. I took the liberty of sending him a couple of the articles that I'd read and encouraged him to look at what the Utah legislature had passed. And also on the heels, if you didn't read our local news this morning, he's looking at ways of taxing marijuana when that comes through at different rates. And I encouraged him to maybe look at some of the revenue generated from that to help accommodate, facilitate, and fund homeless housing. So with that, I hope that gives a little more background into what I'm hoping we can do. I want to applaud our faith communities for what they're doing to help our homeless in warming shelters, providing some food and places for refuge for our homeless. I think that's very important, but I think we rely too much on our faith-based communities to solve the problems. We don't have the money in the city of Clearlake, and I'd like to applaud my fellow council members who received the phone calls that we need to fix all the roads, we need to take care of the animal control issues, and we need to do all these things with no money. So I believe it is at the state's hands and state level, but until then we need to clean up our own backyard and to deal with this. And I thank the council for bringing this forward. I thank Mr. Folsom for drafting the ordinance. And I'll get off my soapbox. Anyone else? Very well. Do we have any action? Yes.
I go back a little bit on my logic, because the fact is they can go to the park right now and that law still affects them as we speak. I have been one of those people to pick up a 5-gallon bucket, and it is not an experience you want to ever have. By the way, it wasn't my bucket, it was out. I was cleaning up another person's bucket.
Just for clarification.
Even to clarify that, I realized it wasn't very detailed. But at the same time, I also noticed that Senator McGuire is pushing for Sacramento as a whole, is focusing as that main issue being something that they attack and try to resolve. And I say that we pay attention and write letters of support whenever we can as a city. And hopefully we can get our county and counterparts in Lakeport to do the same so that we can get the help that we need. Because again, as I said, we cannot afford to fix the facility shortage that we have for the need that is needed for the homeless. So therefore, I go back on my logic from earlier. But it makes me nervous to know about that law.
I have the same opinion.
And you know, it's good to have these discussions here like this and having open discussion and converging opinions, because then when I go back to the Policy Advisory Committee, this is our #1 priority task that we're taking on to recommend some policy on. So it's good for me to have that input from both sides of these issues so that when I go, I can say, here's what we're dealing with locally.
Thank you. Anyone else? Also, to credit the city staff and our city manager, a letter has been drafted, signed, and is on its way, right, is there in support of the California League of Cities that is not supporting the Assembly bill that would require that council member Sabathia. Further request? Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion?
Make the motion. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to introducing ordinance by title only, waiving reading of the schedule for the second reading and adoption at the February 25th regular 2016 regular scheduled council meeting. Ordinance number 182-1016, the ordinance adding section 5-23 to chapter 5 of the Clearlake Municipal Code regulating camping on private properties.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion is second. May I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Sabatier.
Aye.
Councilmember Lustalo. Aye. Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon. Aye. Mayor Purdue.
Aye. Thank you. Moving right along. Item 9, introduction and first reading of ordinance 183-2016, an ordinance of the City of Clearlake amending Chapter 7, Animal Control, and the Clearlake Municipal Code. Mr. Folsom. And Mr. Jones.
Just a second here, we're having a technical difficulty for some reason.
Might I say, while we're fixing our technical difficulties, I appreciate staff's diligence with using the equipment that is purchased for the council chamber. Many times I have seen upgrades in technology and people who were unwilling to use those, so that new technology sat by the wayside while business as usual continued. So thank you all of the staff members for continuing to upgrade your skills.
Thank you. Just for some background, as you all know, the city has assumed full responsibility for animal control at this point. We need to try to adopt out as many animals as we possibly can. Unfortunately, the current animal control ordinance does not allow for adoptions, since that was never the responsibility of the city until now. This ordinance clarifies and updates the regulations regarding impounds, redemptions, and adoptions. A couple of the significant changes to the existing ordinance are, it's removed sections 7-3.6 through 7-3.10, dealing with impoundment and redemption, and it's created section 7-9, impoundment of animals, which deals with impoundment, redemption, and adoptions.
Thank you.
There are no direct financial impacts of the amendments, and the amendments assist the city in achieving the goal of providing a successful animal control program to the citizens. One more.
I'm just excited about that.
And our recommended action is, by motion, introduce the ordinance by title only, waive reading, and schedule for second reading and adoption at the February 25th regularly scheduled council meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Comments by council? Seeing none, open it up for public comment. Anyone like to address the council on this issue? Please come on up to the podium.
Bill Evans again. I was just wanting to comment that since I moved here at the city, I've noticed a lot of stray dogs. I can almost see stray dogs on a daily basis. Just last month, I took a week off work to watch the kids. My wife was visiting family. There are stray dogs at the school in the bus circle standing right in front of the office. So I was just hoping that this ordinance is allowing for animal control to patrol the city, because I see the trucks sitting out in the parking lot. So that's what I was hoping for.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Number one, the ordinance, when it was originally done, there was a provision in that ordinance for adoption. Number one. Number two, when are you going, and this is what I would like to see in that ordinance, is taking and requiring people to abide by state law. and not allowing them just to run around and do their business anywhere as they choose, like the park, wherever. Because I've seen it more than once, not just at Redbud, but at the park across the street here, over here by whatever, where people will come with their dogs and just take their leash off of them and let them run. And they were provided at one time with bags to pick up their animal species with, but they never chose to do it, and I never thought that they should have been provided. I felt that it was their responsibility. They go to the grocery store, get a produce bag, and take it with you. You know, but these animals need to be maintained on a leash, and state law says that this leash cannot exceed 6 feet. Some of these people got 20-foot yo-yos, leashes, letting their dogs just go. You got other people that take them down there on a rope and tie them to a tree in the park. This should not take and be allowed, because when a person has their dogs out on a leash, they are supposed to be maintained by the owner, and they're supposed to be in the owner's...
Is this pertaining to this ordinance
No.
that she's talking about?
We need to stay on the
Okay,
point.
so,
We actually
yeah,
addressed
we're
that
getting way off
a
the,
couple months ago.
that's what I thought.
No, this is what I would like to see in this ordinance.
Yeah, but this is just dealing with this particular topic. And actually, if you go back in the minutes of our meetings from a month ago, December, these issues were all addressed and dealt with. So we've already taken action on it.
Well, Russ, I'm not going to come down and pay 10 cents for a copy of your
It's online.
ordinance.
It's online, you can read the minutes.
Well, I'm like
dealt with
Joyce.
those and it's been addressed. Well, we need to stay on topic. We're off topic.
I'm like Joyce. I don't have a computer.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we do have it next.
So addressing this issue, does anyone else have a comment? Thank you very much. Bringing it back to council. Councilmember Sabatier.
And I think one of the biggest issues we have here is the puppy breeding, that we just don't have animals that are fixed, and then we have animals that have new puppies, and I don't see in here anything about impounding of animals that are being bred, where we obviously have some signs, because I believe there's a licensing that goes along with breeding, or permitting that goes along with breeding, and I want to add something along the lines for animals not permitted to breed, that they also can be impounded, because that is the main root of what I think is our problem with animals in our city, the continuation of the repopulation. And also I had one other question, and let me go back to my notes so I can get the exact question. For the appeal, it says that they will go before the animal hearing officer. Is that the animal control officer? Who is the, I didn't see
Can you
a...
tell me what section you're looking at?
Section 7-9.2D, if my notes are correct.
It is.
Which is page 4.
And I don't believe I saw a definition of who the animal hearing officer is. And I was curious.
That would probably either be me or the chief of police.
Or who you decide to appoint.
Yes, my designee. But that would probably be, I would either do it or designate the chief of police to do that.
Okay. And that makes sense to me. I just needed to get some confirmation on that.
Does it make sense to add that as a definition to 7-2.5?
I mean, we could, but I think, we're hearing council's direction on this. I think that would be the original interpretation by staff, is to have it be the city manager or the...
Thank you. Councilmember
Yeah,
Olson.
yeah. Okay, so regarding Councilmember Sabatier's comment there on if they're breeding dogs or stuff, but they still fall under the same laws if they're out running around and they're picked up. They still fall under the same laws. So but I think the thing is if they have a license to breed and their dogs are out and they continue to be out, is there something that we can put in this ordinance to say, okay, what's going to be, does the fines just keep going up if they have more incidents of being picked up, do the fines go up on them, or?
I would have to look at that. I'm not sure just offhand. I would think we're going to treat
That's the same as if they were no matter what. Okay.
regardless
So
whether
they're
they're
not
breeding or
getting
not.
special.
However it is said, that's how we're going to interpret it.
Very good. Anything else? I apologize for the interruption, sir. We are finally getting some things that we've been talking about for a while. I want to commend staff and our city manager for getting all these ordinances to us. It seems like it moves slow, but we're getting some things done and trying to clean up our city. Again, there was a period of time where we had no code enforcement, we had no animal control, and things were left to run rampant. I don't know a better way to say that. So now we're trying to get things back into order and to deal with some of the issues to correct that. So again, thank you to staff. I have an action on this item. I keep looking to you, but it's actually not long to say. Councilmember Luslow.
I would like to make a motion, we get to cooperate, that we accept by motion. We're both having trouble with these things, sorry. Okay. By motion, we'd like to accept ordinance number, where are we? 183-2016, an ordinance of the City of Clearlake, amending Chapter 7, Animal Control of the Clearlake Municipal Code, and scheduling, reading by title only, waiving second reading, waive reading and schedule for second reading, blended by vocal, and adoption at the February 25th, 2016 regular scheduled council meeting. Ordinance number 183-2016, an ordinance of the City Council amending Chapter 7 Animal Control of the Clearlake Municipal Code.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Overton.
Aye.
Councilmember Sabatier.
Aye.
Councilmember Lucillo. Aye. Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon.
Aye.
And Mayor Purdom.
Aye. All right, item 10. Consideration of an ad hoc committee to review and recommend a committee and commission appointment policy.
Thank you, Mayor. All of the council members know this, but maybe not all of the public know, but Bill Perkins, one of our planning commissioners, has submitted his resignation, so there will be a vacancy on the planning commission. In looking to see what our existing policies are, there really aren't any. Most cities do have prescribed policies and processes for appointments to standing committees and commissions. With the upcoming vacancy in the planning commission, it seems to be prudent to implement some policies for appointment.
Thank you.
Not quite done yet.
No, but I'm saying. Years later.
I'm just pulling.
Some of the factors that may be considered in a recommended policy are the application submittal process, the reappointment process, the norms and procedures, an outreach advertising methods, council nominations without applications, open session versus ad hoc committee interviews, council member direct appointment of planning commissioners. Those are all things that can be debated by this ad hoc committee. So our recommended action is by motion confirm the mayor's appointment of 2 council members to work with the city manager and the city clerk to develop a committee commission appointment policy for council consideration. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'm on that committee.
I'm looking for volunteers.
I wanted to do this for so many years.
Anyone else? I'd like to offer to the public. Any comments from the public? What should we do? Mr. Chuck Leonard.
I would have bet money on that one.
I'm sorry. As you can see, I'm a little a little jumpy tonight.
Once again, just to correct the corrected is just under City of Clearlake. The ad hoc committee meetings, are they going to be open to the public?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And one of the things, Jeff Smith's not here tonight, he said to tell you he agrees with everything I'm saying.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I might take issue with that. It's so rare.
Double check.
Check on that.
Mr. Mayor, as a matter of clarification, they don't have to be open to the public. You certainly, depending on the topic item, could make them open to the public. That's part of the reason sometimes you have ad hocs, your team members, so that you don't have to.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification.
If they're open to the public, then why don't we just do it at a council meeting?
Well, our prior ad hocs that I'm currently sitting on, we have taken some public input from people who visited, and I thought there was value in that. So that was just and for clarification. But you are correct, so I'd like to move forward if we can. Anyone else from the public like to address this issue? Anyone from the council? I heard one volunteer.
Two.
So I have our recommendations from council for this ad hoc. Would you like to be consistent with what we've done with prior committees and request names from the rest of the council? Mr. Folsom?
If you'd like to appoint
For
other
at-large,
people, yeah.
for at-large members. Then let's go ahead and do that and be consistent with what we've done with the other ad hoc committees that are currently meeting.
We do need to do this fairly quickly because we are going to have a vacancy fairly soon.
Correct.
I'd like to nominate Chuck Leonard.
We can do that as well. We could do that also.
Who wants to nominate?
If you have nominees, we should probably submit them to the city manager. And then what we do is we'd like to call them and see if they're interested in serving in the ad hoc committee. There has not been, nor do I expect, a train to come into Lake County. So we don't want anybody to run over by that train by being pointed to a committee without knowledge.
I'd just like to say I'm thrilled that we're using the ad hoc committee model for gaining input
Thank you.
that we learned about when we went to the conference. For two reasons, it works really well, as demonstrated by our new medical marijuana growing cultivation ordinance, and also because we just justified going to the conference. We don't go there just for vacation.
All right, with that said, I would also like to recommend that we consider one or maybe two of our planning commissioners to see if they would be interested. I'd like to approach a couple.
Process. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they would have some valuable input.
Do we need any formal?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes,
Do we
appoint
need-
somebody, doesn't he, from the council?
Oh, I've appointed Councilmember Overton and Councilmember Lustmo per their volunteerism.
My motion confirm the mayor's.
I move to confirm mayor's appointment.
Second.
We're the only one.
And by audible vote only, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, passes. Thank you, sir. City manager and council member reports. Mr. Folsom.
Well, I'm sure you're probably sick of listening to me by now.
No,
But,
Thank you.
As I just mentioned, Bill Perkins is resigning from the Planning Commission, so there will be a vacancy. Applications are available on the city website. We just signed a contract for the Nixle system, which is the system to notify folks about emergencies. So that should be online fairly shortly, and I'll let you know again when we actually have it online. The Austin's Resort building across the street will be subject to various public safety trainings over the next few weeks. As you know, we're going to be taking that down. So if you see a lot of activity there, that's the reason. We are having a new dispatcher being sworn in on Tuesday. That's a pretty big deal for us since we've been down dispatchers for a long, long time. And then just a reminder that City Hall is closed on Monday for President's Day. That's all.
Thank you, sir. And I got it at the end this time. I said thank you.
Okay.
Did you hear?
Sort of.
I don't mean to call out of order, but Acting Chief Selly, how many positions are still available in dispatch?
After Tuesday, there will be 2 more.
2 more positions. Anyone out there looking for a career in law enforcement? I suggest you apply. Dispatching is a difficult job. It takes a special person, but also very challenging and rewarding. So hopefully we can garner some new applications. Thank you. Councilmember Overton.
Hey, wow. Had a real busy couple of weeks, but mainly on some events. So we had the Amen Clinic. That was really just a wonderful event that they came down, and lots of dentists and lots of community. They helped over 220 people with dental and vision, and it was really just great. Everybody that I talked to that went there was so appreciative of how nice they were and how quick they were. And I don't know anybody that hurt after their teeth were fixed, which I was really surprised because I know somebody had 3 teeth pulled and he didn't have any swelling or anything. These doctors were just awesome. They were great. So that's something that I've asked that they, the group, because it was a lot of different churches and stuff that got together and got that put together. And so I've asked them if they might consider doing something more on a smaller scale for seniors, because our seniors don't all have dental, where Medi-Cal has picked up dental, but the Medi-Cal has still not. Yeah, Medicare still has not. So I have asked them that, some of that is kind of important for our seniors, and mainly requested because I have a lot of seniors that ask me about it. So, so I'm going to try to work with them about doing something on a smaller basis, maybe another time of the year. They're going to see if the Amen group will come back again next year, because that really benefited a lot of people. I was really very impressed with them. Totally cleared out the senior center. Got a designer to come in and pick out some colors. I'm sorry I forgot to bring them because I meant to bring them with me. Greg come down and Doug come down and looked at it and think we're okay with those colors. So I'm going to get some as soon as the Rotary has their dinner.
Seafood boil on February 27th.
Right. Big event. I was going to go put some paint on the walls to see if we like the colors, but I figured I'd wait till after you guys had your event. So we're going to do that. Then we'll ask all you guys to come down and see if you guys agree with the colors. I think it would be nice if everybody just come in and kind of see what we wanted to do. On the February 22nd at noon, where there's going to be a community meeting at the Senior Center regarding the community garden with NCO. We're going to start putting that together, so anybody that's interested in it, this is kind of our base start meeting to try to get it going. So please come down and join in on that February 22nd. It's a Monday at noon. Come down and have dinner. We got it awesome. We're really kicking back with our meals now. You guys got to really come down and try it. They've really improved on the food that's coming out there. The community garden, I think, is really important for us to really get on right now and get it going. So we have some opportunities. NCO is going to stick with us for about 2 years, working with us to get that community garden going. So I think that's something all of us have wanted, and it's been sitting there for 3 years now, just kind of sitting there. So everything's there. We just need to get the people there now. So pass the word, please, pass the word. One of the things I wanted to ask at this time, I probably should have asked it back if you pardon me, Mr. Mayor. The tiny houses, when we were talking about the homeless, they're looking for property. Is that something that the city may be able to help with any of the properties that we have, or is there no? Okay, I wasn't sure. I just thought I'd ask if there was anything that we could do. So if there's anybody out there that has properties, this camping, right? So this camping thing would not consist with this here type of stuff, would it? This would be more of a zoning buildings.
Yeah, there's a number of problems with it. For one, we have a minimum size home ordinance.
They don't have that.
Right.
Right.
And then it would have to fit into different zonings.
I was just curious.
I've met with them and told
because
them
it's kind of a
exactly what they
camping,
need.
not camping thing, so I was kind of wondering how that's going to fall in with what they're wanting to do. So, right, okay, thank you. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Sabatier.
I've had no meetings that I was supposed to go to for the council, but I do have a Valentine's dance coming up at the Senior Center on Saturday, February 13th. It will be $15 for the entry, and Without a Net will be playing all night long. It starts at 8 p.m.
And proceeds go to?
And proceeds go directly to the Safe House of Lake County, where we house up to 6 teenagers that are either homeless or have very troubled home lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Whistler.
Well, Tuesday I was inside the police department, not for anything, but anyways, they were pleasant enough to allow me to go on a ride along that morning with our traffic officer, who I cannot say the last name right.
Roll.
Thank you. So I had a wonderful morning, and we made a stop, and it was nice. But what I learned on that, or not only watching everybody, some look out of the corner of their eye, some wave, some just drive like they never saw you. But what I did learn was a lot about one of our newer officers. And in return, what he learned more about me. So I do think the ride-alongs are very beneficial, not only learning what our law enforcement has to do out there, but learning more about each one of us as council members and as real people. So that was extremely beneficial, I hope in both ways, because I enjoyed it. And I'm planning on going again tomorrow. So with that, after that, on Thursday, I met with our city manager. And then, Wednesday, sorry, today's Thursday. And then I had my PEG meeting here at City Hall last night. And then judge's breakfast this morning, where Russ kicked me out for a few minutes. But it was okay. It was a mutual agreement. And I did miss my Sir Optimus luncheon, but that's okay. And I am here this evening with all of you. And that's my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Bertino Dixon.
I'm not sure I remember everything, but something you said, Joyce, did remind me of something. NCO is also doing 2 other things I want to highlight within the community. One is a farm-to-school grant that they received to connect our local food growers and producers with the school cafeteria and kitchens, and doing some, possibly some curriculum with students around healthy meals. So I am actually on that committee and have not yet been able to make it to a meeting. So they'll have to work my schedule around, but that's happening, and look for more information on that. Also, coming out of the Lake Leadership Summit that I attended with our city manager, we broke down into smaller groups, and each of those groups created an activity that we could take back to our communities and implement. The activity that our Clearlake subgroup came up with was called flower bombing. Don't arrest me. We're going to be flower bombing the city on February 22nd, for lack of a better word. That is, it's a thing. I don't know, it's a thing. So February 22nd, we've invited the Ag Pathway students from Lower Lake High School and from Upper Lake High School to join us at NCO to start to build these flower bombs. And then I'm hoping to have consensus to put some of them out at our 3 parks that we have, as well as anyone who would like to put them on their private property can make contact with NCO to obtain some of those bombs that we're going to
In the interest of safety, could you define what a flower bomb is?
As I understand it, it is soil that is high in clay so that it remains solid. You take seeds, place them in this clay formula soil, and make them into these round bombs. I know, we said bombs like 20 times in the council meeting. I'm getting uncomfortable.
As am I.
Getting all this?
As long as there's no detonators or...
Nothing like that. So, and then you place these. The ones we put in the park are going to be in planters that are biodegradable. So we'll place those out in Highlands Park. Was our first park we wanted to target, because we have our plan.
Target now.
So, and then
Just to be compliant with the ordinance, I would recommend you see our city manager.
Certainly, I do have an email.
Can you spell your last name?
So, anyways, we're working on some beautification, and again, bringing forward something where the community sent me out to represent them in a training or a summit, and I'm bringing back that work, and so I'm thrilled about that, and it sounds kind of fun. So, Also was at the APC meeting yesterday and the LTA, that would be Lake Transit Authority and Area Planning Council. Sorry, I'm trying to work on stopping the talking in acronyms that we tend to do when we understand what's going on. So one thing to highlight out of the Area Planning Council is unfortunately not very good news. And it's the state of the excise tax, or the gas taxes, often called food taxes. They're depleting quickly. We escalated from 2 months ago in December to postponing projects that we were told we must deprogram, which means defund, which means you will not do these projects. And we were being forced to choose what to defund, and they gave a list, the state did, of things that even if we chose to fund them, would not be approved when they went forward to the state. Unfortunately, it was a project within our city that is very important to several other projects we have on the horizon. So I have worked with Mr. Folsom to create a letter to let our legislators know that we're being affected very much by these cuts. So I know it's unfortunate. The numbers were bleak. It was like, what was it, 5 years ago, we were getting $1.5 million for our county, and last year we had I'm grasping at, don't quote my numbers, but something like $90,000, and next year we're looking at $36,000. That's not even one person's salary. So it is definitely time for us to regroup and look at ways that we can be strategizing to help ourselves. And that was a real downer. Let me see if I did anything else that's
That wasn't supposed to be the end.
I know, hold on, I'm sure I did something else. No, I didn't. Guess that is it.
Thank you. Yeah, I also sit as a member on the Lake Area Planning Council, and it was very discouraging. Just to expand a little bit there, if you're not aware, if you're living in a cave, cars are driving further for using less gas. Gas prices are down right now, which is awesome when you're at the pumps, but that also affects our gas tax. So gas tax revenues, HUDA and STIP and those types of funds are way down statewide. Those are the funds that fix our roads. So what we were just told is 2 projects, one specifically slated to start within the city of Clearlake has now been defunded. And unfortunately that's very concerning, because that was also going to serve what we're hoping will continue for our veterans housing off of 18th Street. That said, we've also met and we've reported back here our road ad hoc committee. If we need to do something locally, that's the only way we're going to fix these streets of ours. We will be coming back with some options, as I said, on that ad hoc committee with Vice Mayor Fortino Dixon. Everything from doing nothing and let the roads continue to deteriorate to hopefully a full-size funding plan that will actually help us start cleaning paving streets, including the dirt streets and residentials. So I hope to be bringing that back to council soon and for public comment and action. That said, I didn't have another meeting, and I appreciate your letting me stand on my soapbox a lot tonight, but I received a letter from Salina Hospital. And I absolutely believe in praising in public, and I would like to now praise our police department. It reads, as of February 2nd, 2016, Dear Mayor Purdock, last Tuesday, January 26th, our team made a decision to call 911 during an incident at the Salina Healthcare Facility and Center, Clearlake, located on Lakeshore Drive. A team of City of Clearlake police officers quickly responded to the call. I was very impressed with their response, and am writing to share my appreciation for their assistance in safely resolving the situation. During their entire presence at the facility health center, the officers were extremely professional. While they obviously arrived on scene prepared for anything, they were able to quickly calm the situation and avoid any escalation. The officers were compassionate, yet thorough, and communicated calmly and effectively with everyone involved. at the St. Helena Family Health Center, Clearlake, our mission is to provide hope and healing to our community. Thanks to our city's officers, we were able to resume care for our neighbors as quickly and safely. These officers have my sincere gratitude for their great work. As mayor, you can be proud of the way these officers represented the city of Clearlake. Signed sincerely, Brent Duper, Executive Director, Outpatient and Physician Services. And Chief, I'd like to present this with you, leave this with you for the officers who responded to their personnel file. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, that said, nice. Oh, I apologize. Yes, for future agenda items, sir.
Can I add one thing?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just forgot to announce that Art is doing taxes at the senior center starting on the 1st of March or the 23rd of February. So if you guys would like to call down, the senior center is taking appointments, so call the Highland Senior Center at 994-3051 and we'll set you up with an appointment.
Start.
Thank you very much.
Future agenda items.
For the future agenda, I'd like to get a consensus. There was something that we spoke of that we were hoping to do at an earlier date for coming up with a slogan for the city of Clearlake, and it's come to my attention that there can be more use of an ad hoc committee than just coming up with a slogan. We have the Destinations magazine that we can have the ad hoc committee take focus on. We have the San Francisco Chronicle inserts or any other insert that we choose to be on, where we can have this ad hoc committee have public input as well as council input into approving a marketing strategy for the city of Clearlake. So I would ask for the council's consensus to discuss the creation of a marketing ad hoc committee at a future agenda.
I think that's great. I think we should be more involved in marketing our city.
Show of hands who's interested by consensus. No, just to move forward and create it.
Just to bring it back.
Discuss it as a future agenda item.
Future agenda.
Is that something you discussed with the manager?
Yes, it's not a surprise.
Looks as though we have consensus, Mr. Folsom. Thank you. Anyone else? I keep rushing. I apologize.
Thank you for giving me the chance.
No problem. All right, I would like to now adjourn this council meeting. Thank you all for your